I think it'll be pretty obvious off the rip whether or not he's feeling it or not. And if he is rusty, we'll see if he can shake off the rust early. And I think Lycas Empire would be hoping that he is a little bit rusty as they ban out. Doe could be a great ban to really. It's an operator for the roam. I think Dokkaebi is probably evolved into a better operator at clearing the roam than Jackal really ever was for the most part. I don't know if you agree with me on that. That's kind of a hot
You
take
you
of
see
mine, but
no Jackal now. Like you don't see
yeah,
Jackal bans and you never see Jackal played because his utility just isn't quite as beneficial as it could be, like a Dokkaebi, like a uh what else do you see? A Lion. There's a couple different operators that you can bring that can just be more crucial and more pivotal. Unless the team is really killing you on the room, then you might want to bring out the Jackal, and you'll see him brought out once in a while. But also the primary weapon, like the C7E and the PDW, just aren't quite as good as what they used to be, which is also one of the major reasons why everyone played Jackal, is just because of how strong of a weapon the C70 was. And Lycas has stuck to their theme of banning Dokkaebi throughout the entire season, and an Arial Arise main also have been getting rid of the Nook pretty often, pretty commonly. So these teams are still sticking to mostly their default bans overall, getting rid of the stock standard operators that they don't want to see and they're used to not having participate in the games that they play frequently.
yeah, and you see a Ying coming out, and I like it. I like it a lot. Um, I'm not sure if it will be able to be brought out. Probably will if they decide to go for maybe a window execute that we've seen before. You know, you take top square, get a couple players on windows, smoke everything out, plant right on those CEO windows, and we'll see if they decide to go for that. But I think that also is a testament to knowing that if they do go basement, they probably will be utilizing that Ying, and it's an operator that we've definitely been seeing a rise in pick rates in lately, and they do switch off of that Ying, but kind of going off of that point more, I think that'll also be an impactful thing. Maybe not throughout these first couple maps, Clubhouse even, that Ying. It's interesting. I like it a lot because it's like they haven't done anything to Ying, and this happens a lot in this game where certain operators like don't really get changed all that much, and then all of a sudden they're just like very prevalent in the meta and get banned a lot. It's like, why? Nothing happened to them. It's not like they got stronger.
Yeah, Ying has these like weird tendencies. Like sometimes you see her all the time, and teams love to run her, and sometimes you never see her. And Ariel Rise, they elect to get off of the Ying now, as they realize, well, Lycas Empire, they're going CEO. That's the top 4 site. This is usually like one of the least preferred bomb sites. Like most teams do not like to go CEO because of how difficult it is to hold. Because you just slowly get compressed further and further into the site. Or if the team plays the windows like Ariel Rise are doing, then you have to get forced out of the site. You get forced in just these nasty choke point spots that you can't really move around a lot because of all the window pressure that can be applied. You see the lobby repels, you see the CEO repels. There's so many different areas where you as Ariel Rise can pressure the defense out of those comfortable anchor positions.
And they're doing a good job at getting everything open right now, and it's like the checklist approach that I always say, you know, step one, step two. Ariel Rise just taking their time right now, making sure that they get everything done correctly. You don't want to skip a step or go too fast and make a mistake. They're playing mistake free for the most part. That's interesting. A red
Oh,
dot
no
on the UMP.
1.5.
I
That
haven't
is a
seen that in a
rarity.
while.
Cryptics is a non 1.5 crutch. We'll say that.
I
We'll
believe
say
it.
that. I guess you know what? So many people love the 1.5 in this game. I feel like it has truthfully become the
So
1.5
good.
meta where you have to run it, and they give it to Oryx. You see Oryx played so much now, it's taken away. You don't see any more Oryx. They took it away from Wamai, now they give it back. Now you see Wamai all the time again. So it's like it's just these different tacky things that you do with the operators. Is Poison is going to find the opener on the ace. It's a rarity to see the Hard Breacher getting aggressive and getting that opening pick, but it's a nice start to the round for Ariel Arise. However, Lycas have their response of their own as they take down Quartz, and now Poison falls trying to enter into the bomb site. Brios has taken a lot of damage and has got to be worried about this pressure coming from the hallways. Freak walks up and close, maybe swinging long desk, able to find one and knows that there's a second around the corner. Freak finds a second. Very good job by Freak to entry on through. Cryptix gets washed by Asian, and a very easy attack round start here for Ariel Rise.
Yeah, and it's a good start for them, but it is bank. You know, we expect the attacks to go their way, and it is a map that they picked. So it's how it works, Bank. It's not necessarily the easiest map to defend on. And to be quite honest, especially the top floor isn't an easy site to defend. I'm kind of shocked that they went there first, as you normally see teams have stronger win rates on the basement site and that kitchen open area site. So maybe trying to throw them off a little bit at the start. Maybe that's where they're comfortable, but they lose that first round, and it wasn't even that bad of a setup for the most part. It just really fell apart when they allowed Freak to walk up that hallway, kill the player on Marble, and then all of a sudden you have two players stuck inside of Meeting, and they both end up getting taken down by Freak. It's a great play from him, but that was kind of the play they needed to make, and without that hero play, Lycas actually end up defending that site pretty well. So maybe that's a little bit of an insight of how they're going to be looking on this map, because that's not really the best site on the map, and they looked pretty good defending it for the most part. We'll see how that kind of develops throughout the rest of this defensive half.
Yeah, I'm a little questioning though of Lycas allowing Arial Rise to get up through that hallway so deep as they did. Where is your elevator play? Where is that pressure coming from? Because if you noticed, Arial Rise weren't going for that Canta wall. They weren't opening up those long angles. There wasn't a super heavy lobby footprints or presence from Arial Rise. Instead, it was more focused on the windows and square. So why, as Lycas, are you not playing those key pivotal positions like elevator and some of those other spots where you cleared out? We didn't really see that because we were highlighting more of the executive side play, but you have to imagine that Lycas should be trying to fight a little bit harder for some more of that map control because it is so limited when you're defending the top floor.
Yeah, it really is, as they just find a free kill. Candle getting caught out as Quartz finding that opening pick, and the information game just so good for them, and it's so quick as well. Look how fast they've taken map control, and with 50 seconds, they've already got an opening kill onto a Vigil, and they're already working towards the first floor with not even a minute into the round, and finding information on these players. It's just such a good attack as Farik finds another one. Brios ends up getting taken down. Ozone makes a little bit of a flank play, finds Poison, who is the Thermite. That's one of the main hard breachers, but I'm sure they have enough to do it as Aggro gets caught out as well. Lycas just getting picked apart on this defense so far.
And now these last two members are 1 HP, but Cryptics dispatches a Freak. It's completely wasted off of the marble stairs. Maybe getting a little too aggressive, but he's on the Ash. He already did the job, got the entry, got the map control. Now you can let these last three players of Quartz, Tra, and Asian work these hatches, work the utility that they have. You still have 4 Candelas from Tra, and you're going to have those Echo drones to work off of, as you can see Lycas are highlighting and playing off of some of that information game. So you're going to know where some of the Arial Arise attackers are coming from. But really it comes down to you have no counterplay to those flashes, to the smokes that are going to be dropped down by Arial Arise as they go for this coordinated execute. So you've got to find your right positionings and also pick and choose your battles. But as the time continues to trickle down in the round, you got to think that those gas grenades in the pockets of Cryptics could start to become more and more impactful. But just as I say something, Tra is able to take on Ozone, and then there goes Cryptics on the 1v1 to Asian. So a nice, again, another attacking round win for Arial Arise.
Yeah, and they look good so far, and like we said, taking their time at the moments that they need to take their time in. You know, they had that 3v2. They watched the flank, making sure that nobody flanked up, and then you saw the long rotation coming out from Quartz to go all the way to blue. They had the idea of where they wanted to execute and what they wanted to do, and you know, when you take it slow like that, it really just make sure that you're not making mistakes, because especially in situations like that where you have man advantage, you've kind of done everything you need to do, especially on a map like Bank that is so attacker sided. You just have to make sure that you don't make a mistake, because that is when, like as Empire, the team with disadvantage can come through, take advantage of what you've done. And I mean, if you play a picture perfect siege, especially with a man advantage, even if people hit nice shots and stuff like that, it's not a round you should ever really be losing, and they do just that. They close out the round pretty nicely, and so far, that the 2 rounds that we've seen, Mason, Arial Arise have looked pretty flawless at the moment.
I would put Arial Arise on paper as a better gunning team than Lycas. Like just looking at the names and comparing, right? No slouch, not to slack on Lycas, right? They have shooters. But on paper, Arial Rise have more known shooters for their capability in their raw mechanical talent than Lycas Empire do. And when you look at that, and you look at the way that Lycas Empire are playing this map of Bank so far, extending super far, taking these engagements solo, you're not going to find success. Not against this team that's got those hot-handed shooters and also really good drones coming from Poison and Quartz that are enabling those players to find all of the information they want and all of the free kills that they need. You saw them pinch out Candle on the top floor. Then they just slowly worked their way and picked apart different bits and pieces of the Lycas Empire defense, which is spread so far across the map. You've got them all solo playing, and there's no team play together to get those. At least, at minimum, you have to get those trades. You have to get those refrags. If you're trying to stop Arial Rise from having that 5v5 execute, at least get those trades that are so crucial, because for the most part, you're not going to win a lot of those initial engagements, especially against freaking Traw, who do such a good job of just wiping through the map.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, we talked about it in the pregame. Candle is one of those players that needed to step up, especially in those early engagements on the roam, which Bank, you need to kind of roam because you need to not allow a team, especially like Arial Arise, a team as good as that, you can't really give them free control of the map. So you have to do something to really put pressure on the map to make sure it doesn't get taken for free. And I mean, getting picked like that, not even like 30 seconds into the round, is not the start you want to have. And that's a player we've highlighted, and it's one that needs to have heavy impact. And at the moment, Arial Rise are doing a really good job at really limiting that impact.
It just seems like Arial Rise are the more prepared and a little bit better, at least in this match so far. Lycas are running around fairly solo. There's no team play and cohesion, and I'm kind of backtracking on my own point, but I'd like to see Lycas change things up. I'd like to see them play more restricted, maybe not fully bunkering on the site, because you don't want Arial Rise to have those chances of executes. You want to play just maybe a little bit more restricted, less top floor play, forcing yourself a little bit further back overall to playing together and closer to the bomb site, having those options to leave and fall away, but still wasting a lot of the time the drones. Play a little bit more traditional of a Bank, because I think Lycas are just making it a little too complicated and too complex for themselves, which is why they find themselves in this whole 0-2.
Yeah, maybe play a little bit better of a fall off. We've seen certain teams do that, kind of play waves, know when to give up the control that you're fighting for, and maybe not have the round be decided within the first 30 to 45 seconds. Yeah, maybe not rely on that entry kill and really trust yourselves as a team to be able to make those adjustments in the mid round to just continue throughout. And I think that's kind of been the case. I think that's an adjustment to make as well. Another thing to highlight is Asian does not look like he is rusty, so that's great. And you see Lycas, the way that they're setting up, Mason, looking like they want to pretty heavily roam upstairs and once again fight for that control.
That's the way to do it, but you kind of have to play some of that top floor, especially here on an open area, right? You can't give all that ground to Arial Rise. The thing is I just want Lycas to play more together, more seamless as a group, instead of running around the map solo, which is what they've been doing as of late. I like the bringing of Sola still. I think that it is an operator that you should definitely be taking advantage of on a map like Bank that's going to have all of these cameras brought out by the attack. You've got Traw, who's playing on the 0, more than likely entering through lockers solo. You also just have the rest of Arial Rise, who have those claymores that you could be jumping out on, or anything else. Brios gets a little too aggressive on the Quartz, who is just better in that engagement. Finds the shot, ends up getting the kill. There goes your Wamai. You're not going to be able to charge up those discs anymore to stop that shield. Also, that's a crucial position on the top floor. You have Cryptic still hanging around upstairs, and Ozone obviously being a pain in the neck for Freak, who dies, but still 60 seconds have gone by, and I feel like Arial Rise are just in the better positions to kind of work the rest of this round.
I just don't know what he was doing there, but now they have the corner hatch open. They have a lot of control. Lycas have, once again, they worked so hard to get that pick back, but not even 10 seconds later, they get another kill. So they're down one as Candle gets one back through the vert. Quartz ends up being taken down as Lycas Empire trying to get themselves back into this round, as there's still 1 minute and 20 left to go, and Arial Rise Academy lost a lot of that presence around the map with that pick, as Tra now gets taken down as they are struggling to get aggro out of this position. And it's a position that they need to clear if they want to continue taking towards site.
And you have Freak, who's sitting on the Argus cams that were placed by Tra earlier in the round. You should have some sort of information onto where aggro is sitting. Asian finds aggro somehow looking around the wrong way. Poison finds two at the end of the round, dropping down the hatch. Two members of Lycas overswing, get too aggressive, fail to trade each other out, and Arial Rise starting this match off with a flawless attacking half.
Yeah, I mean, that round, and the last two especially, for the most part, Lycas Empire have done the job at the beginning, really, to do what you need to do to win the round. That's a couple of rounds that really effectively, specifically that last one, they should have won. But late round, they don't make the good decisions. They allow themselves to get isolated, and Arial Rise did what they needed to do to get those picks back and find themselves with another round win. And we have now seen all three sites come out for Lycas, and to be quite honest, this is the one site that I did not think they looked very good on.
There was no 3-2-1 peak, right? When they knew that Poison had dropped down the hatch, and Poison's not a player that is known for the shooting capabilities, much more known for his brain and the IGLing that he's able to give to these teams, which is why I think Arial Rise has really exploded as a roster overall, is you kind of have four gunners and then Poison guiding him around, controlling him like the dolls, like the puppets, right? But Poison dropping that hatch and getting swung by one player from Lycas, and then another swing comes through. It's just like the timings are off. They're not working together. It's not a 3-2-1 peak. It was like, I'm peeking, I'm dead. Now I'm peeking, oh, I'm dead. And then you lose your fights, you lose the round. I'm just not too sure why Lycas are not looking like the cohesive team that we once saw them. Even just, you know, a couple weeks ago, I felt like Lycas were just so much better at their timing, their team play, their coordination. Overall, their efforts have just been lacking.
It definitely has been lacking. And you said it before the game, gun skill wise, you favor Arial Rise, and Lycas Empire are playing for these 1v1 gunfights, and it's not panning out well for them. They're losing most of those fights, and off the back of that, it means that you have to continue playing that style when you are down a person. And you may be able to have multiple people isolate a pick, but with how big Bank is and how the angles work, it's very difficult to have multiple people to try and isolate one pick. So that play style that is putting them in that position of being a man down, the only way you can get yourself back into the round is to continue playing that play style. So kind of puts yourself in a cycle as Quartz once again finding an opening pick with that DMR on the windows, and that Monty of Poison is starting to cause problems as Tra finds 2 kills. Freak spots another one, doing some damage as Asian finds it. The last player is aggro in a 1v5 opportunity, but it has just not been great for them as he finds a second one. Not the worst thing to do, but he has to win a couple of fights that are going to be very difficult to win. As you see, they are now on the windows. This should not be a post plant that they lose, as Quartz finds the end kill of the round. And Lycas looking to take a timeout here as they are getting, to put it in simple terms, cooked.
Bank's an attacker-sided map, sure. It is not this attacker-sided. Like, it is not a map that you should just be getting absolutely decimated on. And all of these rounds just look like they go Ariel's way. The only one that looked like Lycas had any sort of chance, any sort of traction, was the open area defense, where they had the man advantage, but then they lost their gunfights in the end of the round. Other than that, they have just not had any control. It doesn't look like a Lycas team that is fighting tooth and nail to win this map. They are just struggling so much on the basic little footprints and steps. And honestly, Joe, losing their fights, that's the biggest thing. I think that Lycas are just not showing up in the guns. I don't know if they didn't get a chance to warm up, if they didn't get to hit the aim labs. They look rough. They just do not look like the put together team that we thought they might be coming into playoffs. And as well, I will have to argue the point How are you letting Ariel Rise getting so much control? You had Poison walking up the main lobby stairs 60 seconds into the attack. You had Poison walking around Banana another 20 seconds after that. With no contention, no one was fighting him because they were terrified of the long angles being held by the rest of the members, by Tra, who was sitting on the cancer rappel, holding the long angle down the E3 hallway. You had other bodies working behind him slowly and eventually getting to that top of the main stairs point. But why are you not peaking more aggressive? Why are you not trying to stop Ariel Rise from simply walking all over your territory?
Yeah, you kind of covered everything, and I wonder if Lycas is kind of having maybe mental issues for the most part on this, because if I'm them, they kind of recognize that they didn't necessarily earn the spot here. You know, they took somebody else's spot in these playoffs, but I think that should be a motivating factor. You know, that we weren't supposed to be here, but let's make the most of it. Take advantage of this opportunity. And to this point, they have maybe not looked lost, but just getting smoked in every single part of it. And I don't think it's because they're lost. I think it's more so that they're trying to do the wrong things, maybe force things here and there. And because of that forcing that they're trying to do, they're just finding themselves at disadvantages throughout. They're basically playing most of this game on the back foot, I think is the best way to put it, the most simple way of putting it. And it's to their own doing. It's not like they're forcing Arial Rise to really do all too much. It's more of gifts at the beginning of these rounds, and that's not really going to help yourselves on a map like Bank as they finally find that opening pick. It's Candle taking out Quartz on that buck, which is a pretty good pick for the most part. It allows them to play that first floor a little bit more comfortably, but look at Arial Rise. They're just going to completely ignore it up there.
You can really ignore a lot of what Lycas are doing. They've got this open area control, sure, but Asian has literally walked his way all the way through their bomb site. I'm not sure if Lycas are aware at all of Asian's positioning. He's literally staring Cryptix in the face. The hatch is open above him, and no one on Lycas is doing anything about the positioning that Ariel Arise have gotten. They literally have site control. They're forcing these players out. They're winning their engagements. It's a complete dismantle of Lycas Empire. Ozone will drop behind, trying to hit the flank, but fails to land the shots. Can't even collect the kill on the Asian. A complete wash of a round as Ariel Arise simply ignore everything about what Lycas was doing upstairs after losing the opening pick, walk in and dominate that round.
Oh man, they had the opening pick, and instead of falling back further towards site, they decide to further reinforce the position of the first floor. And Asian just walks right through sight, and he just kills everyone. He had a little bit of support. They just overtake sight, and like his Empire just getting flooded. It's Cryptix on the smoke, who didn't really have all too much help, too many things to watch, not able to find any kills really, and now facing a 5-0 deficit really early. And with a tech pause, like, it's been so quick, like, this series. It's this map, I should say. Even with a tech pause, I feel like we've only been here for like 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's probably because it has been. It's probably been only about that long, Joe. I mean, these rounds are just rather quick, rather dominant overall. Like, Ariel Rise are just completely decimating Lycas. And it's not to discredit Lycas for the way that they're playing, but they are just literally, it's like that they're T-Hunt bots. That's the best way I can put it. Ariel Rise are just walking around them. You don't have to go push the Lycas Empire defense. You can just win a couple of engagements on the bomb site, or you can go around and you can win against their roam that gets a little too aggressive. But in the end, truthfully, Lycas are just not winning their engagements. They're not playing the spots that they should be. They're not hard anchoring, or at least holding positions that they need to enable them to be successful. Instead, they're getting their butts handed to them. That's the only good way I can really explain it. And Brios taking this engagement against Quartz. He lost it once before. Now he's taking it again. Asian finds a pick early on onto Ozone. Quartz now again gets a gunfight onto Candle. it is falling apart yet again here on the Lycas Empire defense, which is a bank, and they've played this map multiple times before. I've seen Lycas play bank so many times, but they are just getting manhandled by Arial Arise.
And it's to their own doing. They're getting desperate, making plays they don't need to make, and maybe they feel the need to do that because they are down 5-0, but like we're saying, they're putting themselves in this position. This is really of their own doing, and Arial Arise are just really taking advantage. And now you have Rios by himself. He finds a kill. It's only a 3v2, but Cryptic's just not anywhere to help as he's flanking upstairs instead of playing Marble. And now is so far away as Arial Arise again have the site control. They ignore the players that are off site and just steamroll their way in, as it's now 3v1 Cryptics left on his own to face 3 people, including a shield and a post plant. And Mason, this is just not winnable.
There's really not much he can do here as Cryptic's on the smoke. He overstayed his position. It's kind of his own doing for getting into this 3v1, right? Cryptic's all the way upstairs when the rest of the team is hitting site, and it was Brios who was fighting for his life in the bomb site itself. Oh, why are you not helping? You gotta be quicker. You gotta be like, your teammate's fighting for his life inside and is probably calling it out. Or if not, the other 3 dead team members are calling it out. Why are you slow walking down marble or down spiral stairs in lobby when it's bank? Like, more than likely, Arial Arise have a drone in lobby to watch for that. In reality, you cannot make any sort of efficient play in lobby without having played Solus to, like, get rid of all of the information. You're on smoke. Like, there's just a lot of big question marks that I have currently for the way that Lycas Empire are playing this map of bank. And Arial Arise, they're going to go to Archives Tellers because why not?
Have you ever played the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign? I know this sounds far-fetched, but just play along with me here. You ever played it?
Yes, I have.
So you
How
know
much of it I remember is the real question.
The opening of it, where they're talking about the ghosts, where there was like 100 of them versus like an entire army.
10 seconds remaining.
And then they were all just like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think so.
For anyone who does, and they remember that little monologue at the beginning of the game, it feels like Lycas Empire are the ghosts, but like trying to be, you know, like they're trying to take on the whole team by themselves. They're all trying to make solo plays and make things happen instead of playing off of each other and having that teamwork that we've seen them display previously. And they're not doing that at all, and especially on a map like Bank that's so big, has so many angles that you can play. It just, it magnifies it, really, and it makes it even more difficult. It punishes you a lot more than other maps do, and, I mean, they're just getting cooked in that department, and, I mean, the scoreline is really just showing it.
Now, let's be fair here. This is Arial Arise's pick. So, as much as, like, we are dogging on Lycas for playing the way that they are and just kind of getting smoked, maybe it's just because it is Bank, and maybe Lycas were like, we know we're going to get beat on this map, but we're not super confident. Let's just play and, you know, mess around, get a little warm-up in. Maybe if we end up, you know, taking some rounds, we can really start throwing it all out. But there's really not much of sense in taking that approach, especially here in playoffs. Traw will get the opener on to Candle. That is the 6th opening pick for Arial Arise, the only one coming for Lycas in round number 5, which was the basement defense where Candle got a nice start, and then the rest of Lycas died in the bomb site as they forfeited that control. Brios will walk around, get a nice back shot onto Quartz, catching him off guard. So far, actually a pretty decent attack coming through from Lycas as Cryptix is able to take down Freak. Traw is taking a bit of damage now as Arial Arise are looking a little bit on the back foot in this round. This could be a good step ahead here for Lycas.
Did you just say backshot on stream?
Shot in the back, same thing.
Sorry, it put me off a little bit. It was crazy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say such things, but
Joe, save it for later.
I'm sorry, man. Now the information is out for Cryptix. A big fight's coming through, but Asian coming out on top in that fight, evening the man count. And
Clearly, Japan did not affect Asian. Let's
clearly
just
not.
put that
Maybe
straight.
maybe it
Because
did. It just gave him superpowers.
man is 10-2 and completely walking all over Lycas. I think he had one of those breaks where he came back and was just feeling it. Because it's been that way, truthfully. Asian is just winning every single engagement. Like, that is one where Cryptix was well aware that Asian was walking up those stairs. Asian had no idea that Cryptix was aware and still ended up winning that engagement tenfold. Now, here comes the execute. Lycas is just going to walk on through. Ozone gets a pick. Aggro gets into the smoke, begins to get that diffuser down. Asian has been the man of the hour, completely dismantling the bodies of Lycas. Poison on the Echo. Where are the yokai drones? Where's the denial of the time? The diffuser goes down, but Poison has a response. Takes down Brios, and now the rest of Arial Rise can work their way through. It seems like Asian has a pinpoint onto where these last two attackers are, and are slowly pinching out these last couple members. A nice shot in the backside of one of the members will tag one down, but now Poison's gonna have to clutch. Ozone is better, pulls out the super shorty to finish off one. The second comes from the DMR, and finally, Lycas Empire get on the board.
They get it done. They finally get their round, and a couple mistakes made here and there, but towards the end of that round, they did it for the most part. And maybe not the best crossfire they could have held, maybe not the best post plant we've ever seen in the world, but they get the job done. So put themselves on the board. It is banked. They are on the stronger side. Might be a little difficult for them to come back 6 straight rounds, but like you said, maybe get themselves into the game a little bit. They don't need to necessarily win the map, but getting some rounds under their belt might give them a little bit of confidence going into their own map pick, and that's something you really need right now.
Well, hopefully Lycas can continue to trickle back some of these rounds. I would like to see Bank be more competitive. Like truthfully, I would like to see Lycas really put their all into this map. And I know that you're looking at a 6-0 deficit, now a 6-1 deficit. You're like, man, we are really on the back foot. But Arial Rise did win 6 attacking rounds. It's not completely out of the picture for Lycas to do the same thing, turning around. And if they do so, that would be a huge momentum swing. And if you get to that point, you kind of get to that 5-6 overtime point. Then all of a sudden, Lycas looks like the dominant force in this match. There's still plenty of time for them to do so. It's just they have to play Bank mistake-free, and that's the hard part. You cannot make any sort of mistake at all when attacking here on Bank if you want to be successful, because you are down such a large number of rounds.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you can really cut down the lead pretty quickly for the most part. It's, you know, all of a sudden it's at 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, and then once you're at like 6-4, it's like, okay, we really have a chance. And we'll see if they can really make that happen, as they are going for a little bit of a direct. But you saw one player did end up dropping down back into sight to help them out, and that's Arial Rise really making sure that they're playing around what the attackers are doing. It's a good adjustment to make, to have another person on site, as you do have a couple of C4s down there, a few smokes to work with, and there is that Monty that does need to get this bomb down at one point, and there is a lot of time left, but they need to start burning that utility sooner rather than later, because there is a lot of it.
Yeah, there's 3 C4s and 3 gas grenades. Those gas grenades are going to equate to about the 1 minute mark for Cryptix to stop planting and still take a little bit of damage. And you also have Quartz, which is literally just providing that free information. When you're on that cardiac sensor inside a vault, you can see this default plant position that Cryptix is trying to go for. And not only that, you can also see the exact moment he tries to go for the plant. A nice pick from Aggro to take out Asian, who has been just completely running around the Lycas Empire team so far on this map. But you take him down, that's a big body to get rid of. And now Aggro is going to get active, try to work his way around this player inside of towers. Freak, though, with a response, taking down Candle. Lots of C4s, lots of utility being chucked out the way. And El Jefe, or Ozone, now on 1 HP. But Aggro still has something to say as he'll take down Tra.
It's such a good play from Aggro to end up taking that space, because now they have the hatch control. They've completely flipped this round onto its head. And with only 1 smoke left from Poison, they really have to be the ones to make the play. There's no real denial for them. No C4s, and now the retake is on upstairs. They're forced to do this as Freak going for it. He finds the kill. Brios doesn't get it, but Aggro trading that out as the Monty does get taken down, and aggro now still in a very powerful position as there's only 20 seconds left and no denial left for the defenders really to stop this plant from going down. It is just the guns of Quartz and Poison as Poison flanks up the stairs. He now has the hatch control. Oh, what a disaster for Lycas Empire as Quartz finds the first kill. Poison closing it out as Arial Arise close out the round. And I just commended the plays from Lycas Empire, but Arial Arise Academy just one step ahead.
All fingers pointed in the direction of Lycas to win that round. And then 1-1 match to figure out whether or not they were going to be playing a promotion game following or they were going to be playing a demotion game. They ended up losing that match to 6 Karma, but it was 5-7. It was rather close in that affair, and they looked pretty solid. I mean, I would like to see that type of Lycas Empire come out. One that can go ahead and go tit for tat with a team that's shooting back super, super aggressively, like Arial Rise, like 6 Karma. They're kind of the similar teams when it comes to the actual gun skill that comes out behind them, right? You have significant gunners on Arial Rise. You also have significant gunners on a team like 6 Karma. So Lycas Empire have proved that they can go ahead and fight a team like Arial Rise in the name of 6 Karma. But it comes down to, will you actually do it? Can you execute on that same style of play that you had just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, and they have to do it as we see Dokkaebi and Solus both going out. Solus, very, very strong, very powerful operator. I hate her. I hate Solus.
She a little strong. I remember we casted literally the first competitive game that was played with Solus was SCS, and it was Oxygen versus... Was it Oxygen HK Rebels?
It was on Bank, wasn't it?
I think it was Oxygen HK Rebels on Bank. And it was me and Light Rose, and we watched how just dominant Solus was. And then I think we watched another game after that, and that was on Chalet.
Another great map for Solus.
HK Rebels. Another really good map for Solus, and you just saw get absolutely abused. It may have been Oxygen Arial Rise on Chalet, because I know that they played in that as well. But regardless, like, Solus is so strong. She's so good. You see so many teams banning her. Like, she is probably one of, if not the most banned operator in SFCL. I actually kind of want to go find out. I'm going to, like, see if I can find that and figure out what the most banned defensive operator is on defense. Because it very well might be Solus. Because I've seen teams, like, just completely take her out of the equation no matter what, whether the opponents ban it or anyone else does. So Solus has a 56% ban rate, so is the most banned operator in SFCL, and deservedly so. She's kind of OP. She's kind of strong.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that too is how much stronger she gets in the right hands. It's not like an operator where it's like, for instance, Jackal, where all you gotta do is find a set of footprints and just, scan it. Yeah, it's not that simple. It's reacting off of the information that it's giving you. And, in the right hands with someone who has the right idea of what to do and finds the right timings, kind of can visualize the game better than other people, it just gets even more powerful. And I think that's why Solus, especially at a high level, is so banned, because I think everyone recognizes how strong that can be in the right hands. Luckily, we don't have to see it. What it does leave for is Valk sliding through, Azami sliding through, and we'll see how that plays out, because Mira is also pretty, this is probably, in my opinion, one of her better maps that is still left in the pool. So seeing her go off the board is pretty normal for me, at least, on Theme Park. I don't know if you have a different thought or not, but it's at least the way that I see it.
Yeah, Mira's pretty solid on a map like Theme Park. I think that there are other operators you could take out in place of Mira, but you have to be good at being able to deal with some of those black mirrors and some of the positions that you can put them on, like top yellow, like initiation into control. There are some of those spots that are just a real pain in the neck because there's no verticality that you can really play against that. A nice opener for aggro as Lycas Empire get themselves on the board early. This is something that they failed to do on Bank, so if they're able to be better in that opening engagement in those early rounds, things are on the up, and maybe we can get a little bit more excited here for Lycas.
Yeah, and Quartz does find Candle, who is still taking his struggles into map 2, is that is a big pick for them to get back, is Lycas may have gotten that opening kill, but they weren't really able to take too much space off the back of that, as you still see Ariel Arise holding the upstairs to pretty good use, I guess is the word, as Brios now taking some damage, and Ariel Arise have that man advantage now as aggro, who was that one to get that a breakthrough in the round, finds his death screen as Asian finds another one upstairs, and like his Empire, this attack is just falling apart.
Like, why is Brios walking solo there, right, into that hallway out of waiting? Why is Brios the body that has to go fight all of those engagements on his own? Where is the help? Why is Cryptic's not right there up his butt to swing and play the trade at minimum? Asian completely dismantles Lycas in this round. But I'm going to go back to my point, Joe, because I just don't see Lycas working together. There's no refrags. There's no, let me flash you in. Let me work together with you to help us go fight these guys that are roaming so far across the map. I mean, Lycas didn't even get near the bomb site, which was drug lab. They all died on the top floor getting across waiting. Like, that cannot happen. You cannot struggle that much on a roam clear. Otherwise, you're bringing the wrong operators, right? You got to be able to bring those operators that are going to help you on the roam clear. I do like the Bravo play. I think Ozone does a nice job of bringing the Bravo, getting that information game. Cool. Check. You've got your information. Where's the flashbangs? Where's the smokes to be played for the helps of crossing different angles to block off those lines of sights that Arial Arise are playing? Lycas have none of that. Instead, they're playing grenades, but they're not using them to force Arial Arise out of positions, and that's because they are struggling a bit on some of that more forward information.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely hitting the nail on his head. You know, it's we talked about it before. Theme Park is a very choke type of map, and they're not doing anything to break these crossfires that Ariel Arise so effectively had in that first round, and maybe Lycas wasn't prepared for that kind of play from Ariel, and I think now it should be pretty prevalent that it should be that, like, you know, that's how Ariel Arise is going to play. So now you have to make that adjustment. You have the Ying now, you have those smokes, and it's really going to have to be a less rigid structure for Lycas. They're going to have to be way more free-flowing when they get that entry, knowing where to take the space, because someone's going to have to fill that spot that you had just killed, and taking that space that you get off of a kill is going to be important, and being able to recognize where the weak spots are going to be because of that. And it's not something they were able to do in that first round. They just walked into a three-way crossfire, get gunned down, and that's the opening attack round. So definitely a lot of changes need to be made, and they need to be made early.
It appears as though Lycas are planning on making some of those changes. Instead of going for a full across the map roam clear, they simply just want that lower first floor control inside a drug, which was where the bomb site was last time. They failed to get that. But here, it's free for the taking. And so they'll walk their way in down below. You also have Ozone and Brios, who's playing on the Ying, to work some of that top control. This is the information I'd love to see. You know exactly that this player is coming, but you have to capitalize on that pick candle. You have to find that kill. That is so pivotal. There's a player on the main arcade stairs that is walking down. I like the double peek, double swing coming from Arial Arise, being aware of some of that positioning coming from Lycas, but still, those are the mistakes. Those are the forthcomings that Lycas Empire are just missing on because you had a freebie lined up.
Yeah, and Candle ends up finding the trade as Asian gets taken down, and a great start to the map for him. But you just look at where everyone is from Arial. They were all, for the most part, in positions to help each other, and that's that teamwork coming through. As Freak finding another kill, that smoke, great. Freak found two, actually. Candle finding that kill as he's starting to get himself into the game here, but it's a little bit too late as it's now a 3v2 for Arial Arise, and I mean, it's not a lot is getting done for Lycas Empire. They're not really getting anything done. They're very harshly failing to break the setups that Arial Arise are throwing at Lycas. And that struggle is almost at this point getting painful. As maybe it's a lack of information, maybe it's gunfights just not being won, their utility not being in the right spot. Whatever it is, it's got to be figured out soon.
Well, there's definitely a lack of information on the double swing into break room because Ozone and Brios both swung into a Warden, and if you flash a Warden, he just looks through it with the gamer goggles. A couple nice picks though, as all of a sudden Lycas turned this round on its head, 5-3 picks, putting themselves back into it, actually win this round here on Daycare. So although they struggled a lot with some of the aggression coming through, Candle did a nice job of bringing that round back in to be a possible win for them. Cryptic's also with a nice pick at the end there. So, as much as we're kind of still talking about some of the hardships that Lycas are going through, they're finding some of that bright light at the end of the tunnel as well.
Fights just being won, right? um, those 1v1s were not going their way on Bank, and that is a pretty promising thing to have. And maybe they are getting out coordinated, but if they can still win the fights, it's something that they can really help, because I think the main thing as well is sometimes breaking a crossfire is as simple as just gunning down the first guy that you see, and then it really chaos just ensues after it. And I think that's almost what happened. They got that first kill in the 3v3, and you just saw everyone kind of shuffle around from Arial. They weren't able to fill the spots, and they just lost the fights after that. And it was kind of that confusion right after they lost that first pick. It was like, yeah, we got to watch this. And they just started losing. So started losing the fights. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Lycas can continue to win those fights and continue to assert themselves, their position a little bit more forward in the map earlier in the round, because you'd like to see that kind of play in the first minute, maybe than the last minute. But hey, at least they put themselves on the board and early in this one.
Yeah, even though like Lycas were able to win that round, I still saw so many mistakes that are just atypical of Lycas in that moment that still gave me reason to believe that Arial Rise very much should have put that round away and should have come with that one. So a couple of mistakes at the end, but Lycas finding those picks, you just can't rely on that throughout the rest of these maps, right? If you win theme park, right, and then you go to map 3 of Clubhouse, you cannot rely on yourselves being able to simply win rounds based off of your team completely floundering on an execute and then going in and somehow finding some of those picks that Arial Rise give away, because eventually Arial Rise will tighten up a little bit on the chains, and they'll not overpeak and do some of the swings that we saw in that last round where Lycas Empire was able to get away with a free one.
Yeah, and they were able to get away with a free one, which is a good early round to have. Like I said, it's the confidence. And I think that is 2 of the last 4 rounds, technically, that they have gotten as courts, providing a bit of a struggle for Lycas to even get inside up here. They have made absolutely no progress on the upstairs, as they found their way through to maintenance, which is a good position for them to be. But now the flash is coming through. A great play as Brios finds the opening kill. That is what we're talking about. The utility, the fights, everything was great right there for Brios to get in, capitalize off of that flashbang being thrown. And now they have an advantage. Let's see what they can do with it.
It's exactly what I want to see from a team like Lycas Empire. Flash yourselves in, get some of that ground. Now that they've made some of this forward progress, they can work the rest of this roam clear apart. Brios finds his second of the round, taking down the break, but Tra dismantles Candle, completely eliminating him from the map. Still, though, Lycas Empire in a much more favorable position this round than they've been in the past on their attacks. Tra and Asian have taken a lot of damage, and you also have all of your utility. You've got a fair amount of drones, and you've got time. That's the most important part. You have time to find this body in the bomb site, find the rest of the members of Arial Arise, and get in and get the diffuser down. That's all you need to do, unless the impact trick comes through. And that could stop you real quick.
So I was confused at first why he wasn't throwing it. And what an angle this is for the impact trick. See if it goes through. Gets it off. That's so
that impact
big.
is insane.
No
I love
more
seeing that from
reach.
teams now. And now
So
they're going to have to
awesome.
walk in. All that time that I said they had, they lack. And they're just going to have to force their way through right into the gun barrel. That Poison has lined up nicely. Tra will pick up one on the Ozone. The last 2 bodies try to force their way in through Armory. And that is what we're talking about. Arial Arise force Lycas into a pinch after Lycas failed to open the main wall. And, oh, Joe, it was all there. It was all in the cards for Lycas. And then you couldn't get the wall open. And the entire round fell apart once we hit that step.
Yeah, and he actually like basically won them the round with that. And that was a concern I was about to voice is they did get themselves upstairs, yeah, sure, but he didn't open the wall. With all that control that they had early on, they
Attackers need
never
to
got
locate
the
and
wall
defuse the
open.
bombs.
And they kind of just sat there, waited around. They did effectively clear the upstairs, but they just didn't get far enough. They never had any worry on the hatch, and it allowed the Echo of Poison to sit there and impact trick that wall. And they're doing some things right, but grand scheme of things, just not everything's working out for them. And Ariel Rise, maybe, like you say, technically should lose the round, but they still played around each other quite well with that impact trick, forced them to have to walk through one doorway, played the crossfire, all the kills just funneled through. And
10 seconds remaining.
I mean, it's just a good play from Ariel. I don't think that's too much to the fault of Lycas,
5
but
seconds
they
left.
have to try their best to not let one play like that
Attackers must
be
locate and
the end of the round, because the second that impact trick goes through, the way that their attack was set up, the second that wall doesn't get open, they've lost the round effectively. They are playing around that wall getting open, and if they can't, round's over. And
They had
that's a
56
tough thing.
seconds, Joe, when they got to that wall. 56 seconds. It took them 45 of those or so to put 2 thermite charges on the wall. I just don't believe it, right? I don't get why it took so long for Lycas to do that. It's just these dumb, atypical mistakes. I'm going to use that word again because I said it before. It's not typical of Lycas to make these mistakes, but man, they are just falling apart at the seams sometimes, where they just struggle in so many of these little mini games that happen on the map, and they are losing them, and Arial Rise are winning, and they're winning in a hefty way. Poison, again, looking to go for the impact trick, but a nice team play. That's what I want to see. Handle takes advantage of Poison going for the impact trick, trying to stop the wall from getting open, finds the opener. Now, you've got to transition that, and you got to find that map control that you struggled the first time you attacked the site.
Yeah, and even though they lost that last round, there were flashes of that teamwork coming through. And once again, we see it getting that opening pick, and this time a little earlier. That kill didn't come in for about a minute and a half last round. They find that kill, and not just that, Candle has actually taken the space. So doing a much better job than the last time they had taken this, not just finding the kill, but actually turning that kill into some pressure on the map. And there they go, moving through, and we'll see what they can continue to build off of that. But, I mean, for the most part, much better signs for Lycas.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. Like, I love that Lycas are getting that space now. That's what you need, right? Take that space after you get that pick, but Freak with a nice headshot on the Brios. But over-aggression from Asian ends up losing and costing him his life, and the man advantage back in favor for Lycas. So trades coming through. This looks so much better. You piece apart Freak. Gotta find this last body that's upstairs of Quarters, who could still dismantle and be a detriment to Lycas Empire. They have the time. They take out Tra. This is what you need. All you have to do, you have all the pieces together. You have all the pieces. You just need to press the button. Submit. Just submit the test. You've flawless the test. You have the ace, right? You're going to get 100%. All you need to do is press the button, and the button would be Quartz' head. So please, Lycas, please force him together, work together as a team to dispatch and dismantle Quartz in the face. That's all you need. But the time's dwindling down. Quartz finds a pick onto Cryptix,
No
finds
way.
a second on aggro. He cannot go like this. Please, I beg you, Lycas, don't let it happen. Thank you, Ozo. Thank you. Because I thought all of a sudden that the round started to spell into disaster. A good job, though, by Lycas to play for the frag at the end. That's exactly what they needed to do. They'll get their second round, but oh, Joe. Oh, I heard it in your voice, and you heard it in mine, where the round started turning.
I thought for a second he was going to do it. Just for a second. Like, he got that kill on the window. I'm like, oh, brother. Not like this. Surely not like this. Surely not. But able to close out the round. Good decision to go through. And I think a lot of that, was off of Asian getting a little bit too aggressive upstairs. Didn't really have to make that play. And it may have been the timing, because they had just gotten a kill back, and he was kind of making a play to get one back, and he ended up getting taken down around the same time as they ended up getting their pick back. So maybe a little bit of a mistake right there. It allowed Lycas Empire to domino effect that, tally that into a couple more picks, and get the control of upstairs. And they've now taken their second round, and the flashes of the teamwork, it's coming through, it's looking good, and it's resulting in round wins for the most part, and really getting themselves back into the series when it was very close to getting out of hand, to be quite honest.
5 seconds.
A little close. A little close, one could say. But
Attackers are moving.
Arial Rise like to go back to Drug. I'm not sure why they're using this as the primary bomb site on this map. I feel like Drug is like usually a team's third choice. So maybe since they... sometimes the way that you play past maps can influence how you play once in the future, right? Arial Rise, they smoked Lycas on Bank. Now, maybe they're just playing around a little bit, not trying to show too much, play some of those sites, maybe even set up teams in their VOD review to actually falsify some of that information and then completely change their setup coming into Friday and whenever Grand Finals are played, whether that be Saturday or Sunday. That could be a part of your strategy. You always have to think about what your opponents and potential future opponents could be thinking or doing. So trying to show less of what you do is a key strategy and factor into how you play. Another opener goes in favor of Lycas, as they have been the man of the hour in this round or in this map. They found the opener in 4 of the 5 rounds that we've seen thus far, almost turning into bank for what happened to them, where Arial Rise found all the openers.
And it's just that teamwork is getting them that opening pick. It's more so what happens in the middle of the round that has been a little shaky for them here and there, maybe not as consistent as what they're doing early on in the round, but they've been able to do a pretty good job for the most part. I mean, converting on 2 of those picks through those rounds, not a bad thing. So as Aggro starts to work his way forward a little bit, maybe unsuspecting of a player that close to him, but Lycas Empire playing it real slow, and they recognize that they don't need to go too quick. They don't want to make too big of a mistake here, but they got to make something happen at some point, as there's about a minute left in the round and they still have a couple of kills to get and some map control that they need to win this round.
They're working nicely together on this cafe over clear and push. They force some of these bodies away, but just as I say something, Freak turns up, finds 2, nearly finds a 3rd. Quartz, though, will take down Aggro, so that lurk from the initiation side not panning out well. Quartz takes out Candle as well. Cryptix will be the last member alive for Lycas Empire. 40 seconds remain. He's just going to hop down, try to find the kill, but Tra is literally sitting there waiting for the arcade drop to come through. A very nice round for Arial Rise, who were on the back foot, but it just came down to that mid-round transition from Lycas, getting that execute upstairs, losing some of those gunfights, and eventually finding themselves at the disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, Freak just went huge. If he got that 3rd kill, I think I would have lost it, straight up. If he had gotten that kill, I would have lost it. But even then, the double kill is what really pushed them forward into that round. Quartz finding a 3rd. The 3rd that Freak was not able to find, but I think it showed the same impact. Able to close out the round. And like we said, Lycas Empire, they're doing great at working together to get that opening pick. It's really just a question of if they're able to turn that into anything. And that round, once again, they weren't able to. And that's 4 out of 5 opening picks, but unfortunately, they've only been able to win 2 of those 5.
Well, they've been nice at fighting the opening picks.
They have.
They have. I actually have loved the way that they've played some of the beginning rounds. There's more team play. Candle is winning his fights, and he was one of the bodies that I mentioned and was like, Joe, and the rest of you at SFCL watching, Candle is that guy who needs to have a game. And if Lycas want to perform, if they want to compete in their match, Candle is the body that you need to do so. Candle was doing so in this match, and that's why you see this map panning out much closer. There's better team play overall. It's weird. It's like whenever Candle is playing well and shooting back, the team play looks better, the cohesion looks better from Lycas, everything looks more put together. And although Candle, as far as to my knowledge, doesn't do most of that IGLing or shot calling, it's usually Ozone, you still see just more teamwork and more team prowess overall from Lycas. Arial Rise, I kind of highlighted Tra. He's not been super impactful in the match, but he really hasn't had to. Tra has not been in the position to have to win a lot of those gunfights. Instead, it's been Quartz, Freak, and Asian who have really just been dominating the house on the roam. And if they die, then, Tra and Poison kind of have to fight their way back into the round on the bomb site. And that's been the story of how Arial Rise have played all season, right? You let Freak, Quartz, and Asian run around the map with their heads cut loose. Then you have to either fight your way back into the round, which they had done so a couple times, or everyone dies and you get to sit there and have fun. So that's the way that the season's kind of played out for Area Rise. They're playing pretty similar to how they typically do. Lycas, on the other end, they're a little flippy-floppy at times, so I'm still not confident that Lycas are feeling all themselves yet, but they're looking a little better, especially with Candle, just finding more overall in those engagements.
Oh, but look at Freak finding 2 kills and maybe not going for the third one this time, thinking better of it, but that's just such a big thing to do as he ends up getting taken down as aggro is now in a 1v1 over here. You see that kind of play style, they're finding themselves in a lot of 1v1s as there is an Echo drone.
Oh, he's in a 2v1. He's fighting the Echo too.
They're not able to win it. The stun doing a little bit too much, giving Trial the upper hand in that gunfight and able to convert as there is some information on a player that they can catch out. The case is down, and that's where they're playing, but the info goes both ways. They now know that there is another player over here as Tra finds that kill on Candle. It's all down to Ozone, and looking like it's going to be tough. Not a lot of time, not a lot of cases in his possession, and you have an Echo drone just staring at him the whole time. It's tough.
Poison finding that information is so good for Arial Rise. I mean, just helping the team out so much, doing so much for them in general. Tra tries to get aggressive throwing the C4, and although Ozone was zapped by the Yokai drone, did get the kill. So that's a nice start, at least to, if you want to win this clutch, is trying to find the feet of Asian. But I mean, look at Lycas, they've failed to shoot so many of these default cams, and I think that typically comes from the fact that Ozone plays a lot of the Brava, so you don't have to worry about most of those defaults. Quartz will take the swing on the split, eliminate Ozone. It'll be a 4-2 split here for Arial Rise. But back to my point. Ozone usually plays that Brava, so now the Brava not being in play for Lycas, I feel like they shoot a lot less default cams than normal, and I think that shows as to when you play an operator so much, you get so used to doing one thing. Now you make a change in the season, all of a sudden that habit sticks. Some of the bad habits stick, some of them go away. And the not shooting cameras is kind of sticking for Lycas.
That's quite the observation, to say the least. And I think you're right, but it's also, there's no reason to ever have that happen in the first place. Like, you should, we played this game enough. There's no reason default cams should be up for any longer than they have to be, right? That information can really be very valuable, and I think everyone who plays this game knows that. You're not going to stare at a cam and just let it sit up, and that information helping. And Arial Rise, they had the default cam information, the Echo cam info, and they were able to capitalize off of it in more than one place, and that is really what got them back into that round, of course, outside of that big 2-piece from the beginning of the round from Freak. But for the most part, Arial doing well with their setups. Lycas have had their moments, but they need to continue to have their moments as they are really on the back foot now, 3 rounds away from an early playoff exit.
You want another interesting fact or interesting observation, Joe?
I'd love one. I want to know what you have to say. Yeah, of course.
On my little sheet that I use to track all of the opening picks and round wins, the opener has gone to Lycas in favor of 5 of 6 rounds. The round wins, obviously, have gone 4-2 in favor of Arial Rise. In only one round did the team that got the opening pick, which was in round 4, Lycas, actually win the round. Every other round, if you got the opening pick, you actually lost it. It's pretty wild, because typically the opener is so pivotal. But Arial Rise are tactically throwing away the opening pick because they understand that there is no advantage at all, clearly, in playing a 4v5 for the rest of the round.
Yeah, and you thought Freak for a sec was just going to run in the site to get that tactical advantage. You almost thought, but he doesn't. And they're looking to still push in as a minute has slid through, and Candle now is in a sticky situation, and Court's punishing him for that bad positioning as they find that opening kill and looking to maybe break that trend. And I think Theme Park is definitely a lot less punishing on the opening kill. I mean, now you've too. I think that's going to be a little more punishing now. And, maybe not Bank. Bank is a map. Chalet is a map that I think the opening kill really determines the round heavily, as opposed to a map like Theme Park, which I think you can still play with a man down, as we've seen throughout the entirety of this map. And that is a crazy peak to try and get one back.
That is ballsy. And I don't love that at all from Lycas. Like, I do not like that Brios feels the need
desperation.
to try to even this round out, right? By going for these ridiculous peaks. You should not be peeking top dragon from the dragon door of Throne. That is just not a fight you want to take, nor a fight that you're gonna win. 9 times out of 10, you might get lucky, and if you have the info, then maybe. Even then, it is just it's just not the engagement you want to take. And he continues to test it. Asian actually finds the pick on the Ozone, and Brios wins that fight. I don't know how he's able to get away with that, but it does start to pull some of those numbers back. Looking again up the hatch, taking those aggressive engagements, losing them, and Arial Rise with a very clean and convincing attacking round.
Much of the same on their defenses, right? They're digging themselves their own grave. They're not even making Arial Rise do anything. For instance, like as Empire, they were finding all of those opening picks on their attacks, but Arial was making them work for it. You know, using their utility and really coordinating with each other just to get that advantage. And that's not something like as Empire is making Arial do. Arial does not have to work very hard for these picks. They're kind of almost being gifted them. And then after that, it's the aggression, and they continue to dig their hole bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, on their attacks, they've looked okay on the past couple of maps, even though, you know, it was a 2-4 split. Essentially, it could have been more. They could have had 3-3, maybe even a 4-2 if a couple things went their way. And they've just not looked good on their defenses so far, which on Bank you almost expect because it is an attacker-sided map, as we've noted over and over again, but Theme Park is not. So it's still interesting that even on this map, it is carried over that their attacks have looked way better than their defenses.
It was completely different. Like, I feel like the way that these two teams are playing against each other are complete opposite. Lycas, right, when their attacks super slow, struggling to fight against the roam of Arial Rise, which is very, very pronounced, and also aggressive when it needs to be, but for the most part pretty lax, right? They just kind of sit in corners and just wait for Lycas to come to them, which Lycas never got to that point. They never even really succeeded trying to go fight because they let Asian kind of swing things, and the rest of them would kind of sit there, and if Asian died, they'd end up cleaning things up and clean house, or they would just sit there and wait. And instead, Lycas, they're playing these more aggressive spots, but they're losing their fights, and so then Arial Rise just get all of that ground for free, and Arial Rise were quick to take the ground, versus Lycas, who were much slower on their attacking half. Freak with the opener, yet again, finding Candle this time around, as all of a sudden Arial Rise are really trying to ruin my trend, and I'm not happy about it, not a fan. But if Freak finds this another pick and gets another 5v3, I mean, Lycas are gonna look real down in the dumps, at least so far.
I mean, it's Candle again, getting picked so early. It was the last round, this round again. Happened on Bank quite a lot as well, as Quartz finds another one and gives them another 5v3 advantage, and making it really difficult for Lycas to get back into these rounds as they continue to find themselves at such disadvantageous moments. And I mean, it's not helping when, quote, your star player, who I would say Candle has been that player for them in the past, is just giving away his life so early, as Cryptic's looking to bring it back at least a little bit, as Brios now getting picked up. But still, it's a hole for them, and they have to continuously fight off the back foot, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially against such a good team like Arial Rise.
As the round begins to trickle out, Arial Rise have some nice control. They've got some of these bodies. A nice shot by Tra. Oh my god, is it right? Completely denies Cryptics of that kill, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Just the difference in the guns that are so hot. Somehow Brios actually finds his way inside of Initiation, but immediately is shut down by Asian. Aggro will have to clutch a 1 versus 3 to prevent Arial Rise from getting themselves into match point. Checks the angle, but fails to get the shot and the read onto their opponent. And Aggro is just completely getting swarmed. Asian will win out that engagement. Arial Rise are on match point in our final quarterfinal match here for SFCL.
Yeah, and the timeout finally coming out for Lycas, and I mean, they're just, I don't know how many times I gotta say it, they're just on the back foot every single round, and
show this in slow motion. Oh, yes. No! Come on, Danny. You had
Come on,
one
man.
job.
Give it
You
to
had one
us.
job to slow it down. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. Continue. I
No, it's
really
okay.
wanted that in slow-mo.
No, it's okay. I'm in the same boat. I share your desires for that. But I mean, Ariel or Rise, I think, have done way better with their advantages than Lycas have. And I think that also seeps through to Bank. Whenever they had the opening pick, they've done what they needed to do. They've played slow and have ensured that they maintain their advantage that they get. And they've been able to fight back from that disadvantage. But I think it's more important that they've been able to hold the advantage while they have it. You know, I think Lycas are doing the opposite. I think they're rushing things a lot and giving up that advantage that they have. Because I think the defenders at a 5v5, that is essentially an advantage to me. Because it is a map that in an even man count in a 5v5, it's not always easy to get yourself into the map. And by basically getting away with it early with a pick is not something you should be able to give up as a defender. So I think Ariel Rise, I mean, you've seen it. They play slow after getting that first kill and just play their angles, play with each other, make sure that they keep that man advantage and really force Lycas to make the play. And in doing so, continue to make mistakes that are being capitalized on.
Oh, theme park, right, Joe? We've seen it actually a lot in SFCL. I think it is the second most round count that we've seen here in SFCL, at least according to our stat sheet. And thank you to our stats team for being able to provide that. They do an incredible job. I have to shout them out because to go and sit and input stats is a grueling job, and they do such a good job. But back to my point, defensive win rate on theme park in SFCL is 56%, and the attacking win rate, of course, then would be 44%. Lycas currently have a 0% defensive win rate, so you got to change those numbers, and that's one way to start things out. And hopefully, with your timeout, you're able to do that. Obviously, taking a timeout at match point is something that most teams try to avoid because of how big of a hole that you're in now, especially being down 6-2. You've got to win 4 straight rounds. And we saw Lycas do that. Well, not do that exactly, but we saw them start to win rounds on Bank at the very tail end, or at least put themselves in those more successful positions. They've just got to close out. I feel like Lycas have had some good starts. They've just not been able to finish. Like they're just not a complete. They crack the eggs and they get everything. They get all the ingredients right to make the cake, but then they never actually turn on the oven. And I think that's where Lycas is kind of at least so far in this match. They just struggle to really get the job done that they need to do.
Yeah, it's been a struggle to say the least. And now Ariel, once again, it's Candle, man. How is it every single round the same thing happens? They find a kill back, but they gift one. It's the same mistakes. It's driving me insane, Mason. I'm actually going to lose it.
And Candle was the body that, like, we're like, yes, like, he is so important to be performing and doing such a good job. And then he just went dead silent as soon as we got to the defensive half. A couple nice picks could trade it out, but in the end, it is all Freak at the end. He'll send Arial Rise on as he just walks on all behind every member of Lycas Empire. And Arial Rise in a dominating fashion, losing only 3 rounds over the last 2 maps, take themselves into semifinals. They will play against Wild